Welcome back. Today, messing around with wheels and tires. One of my favorite things to do. Thought I'd bring you along. Gonna keep this one kind of fast and loose here. So what I'm doing right now is doing a little swap out from these OGRC normal wagon wheels that I have flipped. And the reason I flipped them is because I actually ordered the deep dish version or the negative offset, and they sent me these. So I ended up using them, but I really don't like that crazy offset on this truck. So I'm swapping those out for some Injora that are actually the negative offset or deep dish style. So they're inset a little bit on both rims, so they're not as excessive as these guys on the look, and they don't stick out as far. So I think they're gonna look a little bit better on the truck. And in swapping these out, I found that the Injora and OGRC brass rings are interchangeable. So these are the heavier weight OGRC rings you can buy separately. They're like the mid-weight that they offer. So these swap in for these lighter weight Injoras, no problem on these. So I think I'm gonna weight heavier to the front and lighter to the back. So that gives you a nice little tuning option. So that's something to know. If you're running some of these wagon wheels, you can pick up these heavier rings separately and do a little tuning. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these swapped on, and then I've got some brand new wheels. I've got some new tires, some Jconcepts 57 TRXM4 tires that are super hard to mount, but I found some wheels that are gonna work with them. So we'll get to that in a second. Got them mounted up, and man, these look so much better, much more proper. Just not just extremely super crazy deep dish. And the offset and track width seems to be much better. Let's make some of that up. So it just looks much more scale in my opinion. Still got the clearances here. And then it looks like the bed's gonna work out as well for the clearances. Yeah, so that's perfect. So that is kind of much more what was originally intended. And I think, man, those look good. I really like those white wagon wheels. So I think now, since I've got a prior weight, I'm gonna go ahead and reweigh this since I've got the heavier rings in the front and see if that's a little bit better. Well, looks like that little bit of heavier ring tuning up here helped the bias in that one quite a bit. So that's a good deal. So look, I've got another truck on the table here and more white wheels. So now that I've got these free, these wagon wheels, I'm thinking of swapping them in for these white ones here. These are the little guy CYCLONES. Get something a little more kind of era appropriate. And these are brass ring weighted, and since I've got brass axles, I don't really need that weight in the wheels on this guy. So I've got plenty of spare Injora aluminum rings, and as we saw, they're interchangeable with OGRC. So I think I'm gonna mount up some wagon wheels in the just zero or positive offset, the typical direction, so they sit in, because again, I've got the wide axles. So I think that'll kind of change up the look there a little bit. And I may actually pull these off and put them on my orange Ripper. I don't know, I think they would look really good. It's got some white highlights, but got me looking at these guys, and you know, these are super cool looking and aggressive looking, but not very scale. So these tires that are on here, these kind of TPD knockoffs, are basically just a hair bit taller, about the same width. So I think I'm going to do a swap out for these kind of crazy Injora. I forget what these are called. These are their swamp stompers, I believe. But just try to get something a little more scale. And look at me, I've already cheated and mounted them up. So I think these look really good. They still basically are that same kind of stance, but they're a lot more reality as far as the scale tread pattern. So I think that's a good swap there on this guy to get it a little bit more where I want it. So that means I'm gonna have to come up with a replacement for these on this guy. And I think I've got something in mind, so we're gonna come back and see what these look like with a full swap out. All right, got these swapped on, and man, these look nice. So same width and kind of blockiness, but I think they're much more scale appropriate here. Those look fantastic. So I think that that sets this guy up pretty well. We got a couple new sets here, so I think it's time to refocus here on the Willy and get some wheels back on it. So let's take a look at a few tires here. All right, I've got some tire options on the table here. So I've got 3 different ones. They're all fairly new. So this is basically brand new from PROLINE, the officially licensed Maxxis TREPADOR TPD. So this guy looks just super scale, really nice looking, fairly narrow. I mean, not super narrow, but the way it's set up from their rim, it looks really good on the narrow rim, kind of donuts in. So I'm kind of liking this look, so that's what made me think of this for the wagon wheel, because it's not a super wide wheel. But those are contenders right there. Really nice compound as always from PROLINE. The next are fairly new from Jconcepts. These are their Scorpios. So these have a nice AT tread, and this is the green compound, which is really nice as well. They have a really wide foam stock, so that's kind of nice. So these may stretch out and look pretty beefy. And then the third option is somewhat new from Trail. I've had these for a little while, the TRAILBURNERS. So again, this is kind of a scale looking AT, not super gnarly tread pattern, but this compound feels really nice as well. So the first tire from Trail, so I'm interested to try that. So whichever 2 don't make it on the Willys build, I think I've got an idea of what they may end up on. So anyways, I'm gonna make a choice and do a little mounting, and we'll come back, see what made it. Well, can you tell what I chose? So I ended up going with the Jconcepts Scorpios, and I think those look really good. They fill out quite nicely with the stock foams, and they're not vented right now, but man, they feel really good. I'm gonna start with them unvented. Just, I mean, you can see that tire compliance with them being unvented. So just with the weight of this, I'm gonna start. But man, those look really killer. Nice large tire size. I figured I might as well take advantage of the clearance that I have with the Super 8s and kind of upsize the tire to something a little bit more appropriate for the width on this thing. And I think those fit the bill quite nicely. So I think that that takes care of that switcheroo, tire wheel swap there. So it looks like everything found its home except for these cyclones. We got to get these guys onto something. But I think before we do that, let's take a break and look at some brand new stuff here. All right, just got a lot of stuff on the table here. So let's see where to start. You know, I'm always on the hunt for new wheels, and obviously I've been doing a lot of FJ wheelie cab, a lot of vintage kind of builds. So I've been looking for, you know, more and more kind of vintage style wheels. So that's what kind of led me to some of these discoveries, is looking kind of in unusual places, searching down the dark alleys of Amazon. But just wanted to share a few of these with you. And if you're old enough, I'm sure you remember the downfall of Enron. Well, now we've got new Enron. Apparently they make wheels. So these guys actually look really, really sweet. These were an Amazon purchase. And I thought these were gonna be pretty lightweight, but they actually, I think they have a steel ring maybe, or brass. It feels like it's about a 22, 23 gram at least. But you can see nice, classic, just hole pattern. Very similar to the ones in the background that are DJ Crawler, those silver, but they only make those in the matte silver. They don't make any other colors, so they may make a gold. But these come in the black, They come in a gold, they come in a silver, which I now have on order, and they come in this gray as well. So 4 colors for these guys. So these look very promising for some of the classic builds. And then these nice 6-spoke bronze, these are OGRC. So these are also an Amazon find. Again, I've used some of their wheels before in this bronze color, and I really liked it. So I think these are going to work for something. Not sure what yet, but really slick looking. And of course, these have the heavy brass ring on them there, the real thick one. So a lot of weight. And then these guys were just a super happy surprise here. Another classic style vintage rim. And I just ordered these, and like most of these on Amazon or wherever, they say, you know, 1/18 scale, 1/24, TRX4, you know, SCX, it fits everything. But if you look in this, you can see this has like it has a really deep inset for that bead lock. And you can see it's also a little bit larger here. And the packaging, you know, just, this is what it says, TRX4M. So I'll put a link below. But it turns out that they fit these brand new Jconcepts Landmines and Tusks in the 57. So if you're like me and you're excited and you ordered these Jconcepts tires, you're immediately disappointed when you found that you couldn't mount them on any 1.0 wheel. So these have some massive bead, apparently similar to the Traxxas tires. So anyways, these were sitting for a while until I got these, and they ended up mounting up just perfectly. And then you can see I've also got another wheel set here. These are Injora +1 brass. They also make these in aluminum, but this was kind of the one that was the most black I could find. And these are vintage, so nice squish there. But again, they fit the 57, you know, special tires for TRX4M. I'm not sure why Jconcepts did that. It seems like they shot themselves in the foot. Seems like you could stretch a smaller, you know, diameter inner bead or whatever around any 1+. I mean, that's what every other tire does. But anyways, I'll put a link to these sweet vintage wheels, and then it looks like the Injora +1s. And then I think I found another kind of classic looking wheel, a no name on Amazon, that I've ordered that should fit these as well. So that's good news. These are all aluminum, so not a lot of weight, but they're not super light either. And then this last one here is a wheel tire set, and this is a super wide, fairly deep dish, and it's definitely a negative offset. Kind of new school looking. Not sure what this is going to go on, but sometimes you need the lighter weight wheels for, you know, like heavy axle builds like that. But this actually comes with tires, and the tires feel really good. These are obviously no-name knockoffs, but it's funny, they're a knockoff of the DJ Crawler tire, which is a knockoff of a BFG, but then they have Injora lettering knockoff, like Rock Terrain Crawler tire, that's totally a knockoff of Injora, same lettering, but Injora does not make this tire. But the compound feels really soft and sticky. It's definitely not as thick and gummy as the DJ Crawler. The foam feels a little bit better too. So anyways, another little Amazon find there. So I'll put the links to all this stuff in the description. And of course the Jconcepts, of course you're gonna have to go to AMain or Jconcepts to get these guys. I forgot to show this guy. This is actually mounted up on one of those new Enrons. So this is the 57 Trench King, so the little small guy. But I'm getting ready for a new build, so I'm test fitting for that. So I went ahead and mounted one up, and these feel really great here, and they look really good as well. So anyways, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish mounting these guys up, since these are aluminum rings and they're going to fit these Jconcepts. I'm going to toss them on the Willy build as the black wheels, because it needs lightweight aluminum wheels rather than brass rings. So I'm going to get them mounted up and we'll see what they look like. I wanted to go over a few more little details as I'm getting these rims mounted up. So they give you some little 3mm hardware, which is fine for the faux hub hardware that just screws in, doesn't really hold anything. But for actually squeezing down and mounting the tire, there's no way that's going to work on its own. So I use starter screws that were like, these I think are 5.5s or 6. You can't use an unlimited, super long starter screw because these are not through holes. They don't come through the face. So you're going to bottom out. So 5.5 work to get them down far enough, and then I used 4s to go ahead and squeeze them down and mount them. So I didn't even use any of their 3s on the backside. And here is the ring, and you can see that inner lip, how big it is. So it just gives it a lot of space. This is the ring off of that little guy Cyclone, so you can kind of see the difference. But measuring these out, the width of these are 15mm, and then the face is 1.3 inches. So the treals are 1.1, and the treals are basically the same style wheel. So the black ones just have a little more depth and definition, I think, potentially, and they don't have the annoying polished lip that Trail always has to do. If they just had a solid color, I would prefer that. So I would like these that are just blacked out. And of course there is no Trail branding. So I think these look really good, even though they're 1.3, they don't appear super massive because everything is black. And of course these wide tires, larger tires, help hide how big the rim is. But I think those look really good. And just as a comparison, that's the typical Tusk landmine size that we had. So these are just massive in comparison. So super excited to find wheels to get to use these. So got 2 more to mount up, and then I'll get them on the truck. Okay, got all 4 mounted up, and man, this may be my favorite set on this rig right here. These look fantastic. Just loving the vintage look. Track width is not super wide with these wheels, even though these tires are really wide. Just looking super mean right there. Definitely think that's the vintage look that this guy deserves. And when I did this, I went ahead and did another wheel tire swap. So let's take a look at that. Next up, let's take a look at this orange Ripper. You can see I ended up with the white Cyclones and the TRAILBURNERS on this guy. And I think those look so good. They really pop. That little guy lettering on the side and the white taillight surrounds on the rear. Nice scale tread pattern. About the same size as these little guy Trench Kings, maybe a millimeter shorter, but about the same width. So I think these ended up looking really good on this guy. I think it looks great in the kind of the gunmetal gray. I think it looks awesome in the white as well. Just full on creamsicle vibe right here. So I think that wraps up the Ripper. We are back to the blue FJs for one more wheel tire shuffle, I think. So as you can see, I've got all these grays out here on the table. So these were the wild cards for this guy, and little tiny tires. They sit way in, and I really like the wheel, but I just still can't get used to it on this for the look. So I think these are going to go on another build, which I think they'll look more appropriate on. And so doing that, it pulls a gray set off of that. And looking at these guys, they're a little bit darker coloration. Let me see if that'll focus in. A little darker gray than these guys, and versus the Trail, they're pretty close, a little different tone, but about the same darkness. But since this guy already has an alternate set of Trail vintage style in the silver, I think to change it up, these are going to get kicked over to this guy. Plus these are tall skinnies, and this has the +4 where this doesn't. So these will sit in a little bit better on this guy, and I think they'll work just fine at this height. So we'll mount them up and see. So these get kicked off, and I think these are coming over here. And then these guys will be the gray ones for this set here. And in doing that, they're very similar to these guys, and it made me start looking at these. And again, these stick out quite a bit with the +4s, and they're kind of a small diameter, so they end up looking a little bit spindly. So I've already mounted up one of these gray ones, and the tires I chose were these Injora Hyrax knockoffs. These are the, I think, 57 by 22s. So originally they made a smaller size that was really pretty poor rubber, and then they made the large size, and they're really nice rubber. So then they've come out with this medium size and that nice rubber. So really good compound. And again, this was a test fit on my build that I'm working on, but it was a little too wide. I'm doing a narrow track width on that guy. So let's take a look at the rear. You can see how much this sticks out. It just kind of looks a little goofy. Whereas the width and the offset of that wheel gets this guy sitting in close to the bed. It still has clearance there. So I think these are going to look a little more appropriate, kind of upsize. You can see they're a little closer to that size tire. And then this guy, let me flip around. I've already done a little test fitting here as well. So I went ahead and put the Tusk and the DJ Crawler on this guy. So you can see it sits in a lot nicer. We still get right to the bed. We're just kissing it there. But I think these DJ Crawler in the kind of matte finish, they almost match this bed perfectly. I think they really do. It's just these have a little more sheen because they're real metal versus this bare metal paint. But definitely not a polish on these. So I think that still works just like these work with the bed. So I think these DJ Crawlers are coming over to this guy. So this guy is going to be left with just 2 sets right here for now. So we'll see what the future holds for this blue, but I'm going to go ahead and mount up all these options here, and we'll get some new looks for both of these guys. Oh, I think this is it. Both of these guys are sitting pretty now, and I'm definitely liking the look of each of those. So let's look at this guy first. So didn't know if I'd like that little bit of metal around the outer edge of the ring, but it seems like it's picking up the bed really nicely. So I think that works. And of course the gray with the blue looks excellent. And I really like these narrows on here a little bit better as far as track width. And it looks like we are just perfect on clearances. And then the bed, again, this looks much more proper than it did on the other with the +4. So it's right up against it. Just perfect clearances there. So I think this is the setup that this needed all along for its gray wheels. And the same here. Let's take a look at this one. So these guys filled it out much nicer with that width. So I think those look a lot better, and the dark gray goes great with that flat kind of gray blue color. So let's look at this guy on the rear for the clearances here. So again, just perfect. So that looks proper right there. And I think these guys look pretty comparable now as far as stance with the +4 to the 0 offset, just due to the tire swap here. These look great. Angle these in a little. Man, some nice blue counterparts there. So I think that may set up these FJs. May toss on those DJ Crawlers and get a look at those new silvers on the one on the right here. All right, we've got the last option here for this blue and silver, and these look excellent. really nice on here. So they don't stick out so far. They don't look super spindly. I think they look really good. And I'm digging the silver on the bed with the wheels. I think that's a great match to that kind of matte finish metal. And then you can see the track width back here. So that is nice. So again, I think that swap was a good move there. This small tire looks much more appropriate on this FJ than the other. So I think that may wrap up both of the XL FJs here. We're not done here. We've still got these PROLINE Maxxis TREPADORS with no wheels and no vehicle. So we can't have that. So I've got a wild card here. So look at these. So if you don't have any of these, sorry, you can't get any anymore. These are the Maz Designs turbines. So I've yet to find a build that these seem like they were going to work on. They're directional per side, which makes these very unique. So most wheels are just the same no matter what, but you can see this pattern is opposite of that pattern. So very cool there, and he gives you the scale hardware as always with his wheels. Got the brass rings. I believe these are vented, and they're fairly narrow, and they're not a wide offset. So I think they're going to work well with these tall tires to keep them kind of tucked in and get them to donut in like that. So hopefully these will look really good. I've always had a hard time kind of imagining what these will look like mounted up to something, but I think I've got the perfect rig in mind. So this is one I completed recently, and I didn't do any alternates or wild cards. So this is my new DUV Dementor here. So I went with kind of the red and carbon for the main wheel set here because of the accents. But, you know, we got some nice polished right here with the bearings. I think that'll look good with the polished edge cut here on these guys. And of course, plenty of black. So I'm hoping that these guys will really, you know, set it off on here and look really good. But we're gonna see anyway. So I've got a lot of little screws to mount, a lot of little scale hardware pieces to put in there, but I'm gonna get to work. We're gonna come back and see what this Dementor looks like with a new set of shoes here. Wow, I think I found the perfect home for these guys. And I don't know what took me so long to get these mounted up. These look so good on this thing, and they look really great with these TREPADORS. These look really aggressive. They're very scale, but they still work. They're super aggressive as well. So man, just very happy with these. I think the black and the polished works really well. Definitely liking the look of this guy. So I think this is now, you know, a little more even. It's got two sets of rims, got a main set and some killer alternates here. And I think I'm going to be working on a wild card set as well. So I've got these, like I say, kicked off the other build, and they happen to really look good with these axles. So I've got some larger size tires on order to hook up with those rims, and then hopefully get a wild card set up on here. So I'll definitely have to post a photo of that on the community tab when those get hooked up. But man, I am super happy with it as it sits now. So that just looks insanely killer. So I was wrong about those rims. They're not vented. So I did have to punch the tires. And then if you've seen this build, I've got a 59 front bias without the battery because I've got brass in the front only. So I swapped in some Endura 15 hole rings, I guess. They were out of these guys that I didn't use. So on his site, Maz sells some ultralight rings, and his note says that they fit his Maz wheels and the Endura, I think 15 holes. So that's what these are. So that just happened to work out. So I'm going to get this guy on the scale and see if it's still hitting that same weight bias with this wheel tire combo. But man, I am super happy with the look of it, that's for sure. Well, looks like we hit 1% over on the weight on the front bias on that guy. So a true 60/40 without the battery. So that's going to push it probably to a 61/39 once I get the little 180 in there. But overall, not bad at all. I'll just see how that works. I can always do a little tweaking, a little further weight tuning to that if needed. But man, I think got a lot of cool rigs here set up in a lot of cool ways with all of these different wheels and tires. So I hope you enjoyed kind of a little bit of the bench time, wheel tire swaparoo, rodeo, if you will. And definitely hope you're aware of some of the more vintage style options out there, some of the lesser known. But I'm really impressed with these guys here, and like I say, I've got the silvers on order to see how that finish looks compared to the DJ Crawler ones, but these are really great. And got most of them mounted up. We still got 3, don't know what to do with yet, but you know they're going to find a home soon for sure. Definitely can't let a bronze rim sit for too long. Definitely like that color. So we'll get those onto something at some point. And if you've got the keen eye here, you might notice something on the lower left-hand side of the screen peeking in. So what does Exocage say on his channel? If you stuck around to the end, if you stuck around here this long, you're the cream of the crop. So I got a little surprise look ahead at my next build. So you'll probably recognize the front end here. It's another Willy. So this guy is titanium silver. So I'm going for more of a resto mod look on this, but the paint just came out fantastic on this one. It's crazy, these kind of diagonals, those are reading through the print. I thought that was something on the paint, but you can only see them in a certain light. There's one on this side as well, no big deal. But as far as the paint finish, I think that came out looking really good. So anyways, that's what's coming next. Of course, it's not fully detailed, and that's what these kind of mock-ups were for as well. I've got these mocked up. These are the newer Falcon Wild Peaks, so looking for something maybe a little more modern since this is going to be kind of a resto mod look. But anyways, this guy is in the pipeline officially, so you'll see something on it at some point soon. But anyways, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for this bit of shenanigans today. So anyways, thanks for coming along. You probably didn't learn anything at all today, but hopefully you had fun and saw a little bit of micro crawler eye candy and some cool wheels and tires. So anyways, until next time, thanks for watching.